Mr. Stephen Golub is a political analyst and also lawyer. He's joining us live on Race to Power from Philadelphia, the United States. Mr. Golub, happy holidays and thank you very much for making time for us. Welcome to the broadcast. I'll begin by asking you, many people thought, I included, that during Trump's campaign and during his victory speech, that he's a changed man. But that doesn't seem like it, because with his recent jibes and with his recent comments, I think we were all wrong. Trump, the OG, is back.
He's certainly back, and in a very even hostile and somewhat vicious way, both by virtue of his attacks on what he calls the lunatic left and his hostility or hostile statements towards Greenland, towards Denmark, because Greenland is a territory of Denmark, towards Panama, and towards our greatest ally, Canada. And this certainly is a continuation of the way he was during his first term. But there's an additional source of concern here, something that didn't get too much attention abroad during our presidential campaign, was Trump's possible cognitive decline, even as there was much commentary, and I think legitimate, on Biden's cognitive decline. Trump has exhibited this in some ways through his statements, through his actions, some of which were very, very wild and irresponsible. So even though this is a continuation of Trump in many ways, there's a cause for concern that he may be, well, even worse than ever and in worse mental shape than ever. One thing I'll add is that in Christmas, it is in America, regardless of what religion you are, it's a day of rest, a day of family, a day of celebration. What Trump spent a good part of the day sending out 36 posts expressing all sorts of hostility towards our allies, towards domestic opponents, rather than trying to unite the country on the one day, if any, when there should have been a spirit of generosity in his words.
Mr. Golub, very quickly, let's talk about his statements like you mentioned there. What are the consequences of this statement looking forward and looking into the future when he actually indeed becomes president of the U.S.?
I think in certain instances, this pressure may work in certain contexts, but largely it'll be counterproductive. I mean, how would India feel if Trump said, well, Goa was a different territory than much of India for much of its history, and the U.S. has a strategic interest in that part of the world. Maybe we should buy Goa or take over Goa. It would be ridiculous for him to say that. So how do you think the governments of Greenland, of Denmark, of Canada, of Panama, and other nations feel? It's an indication that the U.S. is not a trustworthy, reliable ally. They'll have to deal with the U.S. as best they can because we're such a powerful country. But this isn't the way to make friends and influence people. It's really counterproductive in many ways.
Stephen Golub, thank you very much for your time and for talking to us today on WION World is One, and happy holidays. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.